But first of all, let's start. Tēnā koutou, Wominjeka. Welcome everyone from across Australia and New Zealand. It's wonderful to have you with us today. I really would just like to start by acknowledging that we gather on lands that belong to the First Peoples of both Australia and New Zealand, the traditional custodians of country. Here in Australia, we say these words, but that it actually also applies to New Zealand as well, that we really honour the continuing connection of First Peoples to land, place, water and community. They've faithfully cared for country for tens of thousands of years, and so we pay respect to their cultures, their country, the elders past, present and emerging. Okay, everyone, thank you for making time to be here with us today. My name is Mary Louise, or everyone knows me as ML, and I'm the Managing Director of ATEM. And I am joined by a couple of colleagues here. We've got Margaret Ruwald, who is our comms guru, and some of you may know her. And I've also got Maria Buckland with us as well, who does some of our marketing and engagement as well. And so the three of us carry in our hearts great love for the Best Practice Awards. We think this is an amazing opportunity to shine the light on who's doing some really good things in the sector. So this is one of our private passions. I can also see that we have Sally here from our BAS Regional Committee, and I know that she loves this as well. So welcome, Sally. Today we're going to do a number of things. This will be a slightly interactive session. We're going to start working a little bit on some applications, just a little bit to get you started, but we're going to sort of do it around the world. So I'm going to start talking a little bit about the awards, why we do them, what the categories are, etc. I'll then give you some tips and advice. So we've sat down with Susan Hudson, who's the convener of our judging panels, and we've got some great advice from her about what makes a really good application, and we're also just going to test some of your thinking about that as well. So at different points we will ask you to pick up a pen, type something into your computer or something like that. Okay, so let's get going. The first bit for me, I've put this slide up called purpose. There's two reasons why I want to talk about purpose. The first one here, the main purpose of today's session is really to help you be in the best space to put in a really strong and outstanding application. I was looking at some of our figures, sometimes we get up to 20 applications in one category. Now, if you think, we've probably got about, I think there's about 60 institutions that we could accept nominations from, and then there's lots of individual members. So it's really crucial that we get you well placed to put in a nomination, whether it's for yourself or for a colleague or a team that you're part of. But the other reason why I want to talk about purpose today, I mean, I said Margaret and Sally and Maria and I were really passionate about these awards because they shine the light on what we do in the sector. You know, every day in tertiary education, amazing things happen. We grow the economy, we build brains, we solve big problems, and it all happens because of the people working in the background to make this happen. And if you think about the last few years over that pesky virus time, you know, we've had researchers working together to find ways to respond to the COVID pandemic, and professional staff have brought that to light. You know, we've had tens of thousands of students continue to receive quality education despite the change of environment. That has happened because of the work of so many people in our sector. We've supported our communities. I know one university that's run this amazing food bank that I can't remember the amount of tons of food that they've handed out to students in need. We've got another university where their counselling students have stepped in and provided services in areas where they've had huge flooding over the past month. I get the sense they may need to do that again. But in all of these cases, this happens because of purpose, because of people working in tertiary education and doing amazing things. So that's my my spiel around purpose. The other reason why best practice awards are really important is because they do amazing things for people. And I sat down, I talked to some people who won awards last year, someone who won an individual award and a couple of people from a team. And these are some of the things that they came up with and some of the things that I came up with as well. But when you nominate someone for an award, they actually see value in themselves, and it's an amazing thing to happen. It validates them and it gives them confidence to keep going, especially in times of challenge. It gives them confidence to step out of their comfort zone, but it also models that for other people, that when you know, that there are rewards for stepping up and doing something different or challenging. It also empowers others. It's amazing, and it adds to a collective positive mindset. So when I've spoken with people, and actually, and I interviewed someone who had been nominated but didn't win. And for them, the fact that they were nominated, they said it meant so much to them that somebody saw what they thought was their invisible work, but actually they felt was really important. So that nomination is actually critical. Winning is fantastic, but the fact that your name is up there as being representative of best practice is really important as well. So there's lots of reasons on there, but for me, I really like the fact that it creates a ripple effect. It shines the light. I've said it shines the light a few times, but it shines the light on best practice, but it creates this ripple effect. And I think that for anyone who actually nominates others, gosh, there's got to be some good karma in that as well. Okay, so here's my challenge to you. You may have arrived today with a nomination in mind, but I wonder whether you might look further afield and think about, well, where else in my institution should there be a nomination? Can I help get that up as well? So have a look around. Who are the quiet achievers who may not put themselves up, but really should be recognised as well? I thought it might help to step out an application. It can be a little bit daunting to sit down and go, oh, I've got to pull this application together. So I've called out that there's probably 4 steps, and you might use this as a framework to work through. You may have done this already and be really experienced. Okay, but the first one is to research and learn as much as you can, to sit back and take stock. So we put a little "you are" here. But so there's some really important things that you can do, like read the brochure that's on our website around what are the criteria for the awards. Check that you are eligible, or the person or the team that you are nominating is eligible. So you need to be an individual member of ATEM, or you need to be linked to a corporate member. So the first thing is to really research. Make sure, if you're not sure about whether you are eligible or not, reach out. There was an email at the end where you can check in with us. Talk to people about the nomination. Say to your boss or to someone I'm thinking about this as a nomination. Do you think this is a really good thing to do? You know, is it valuable? Is it different? And start thinking about who could possibly be referees. And I know the judging panel are really keen to have at least one senior referee within an institution. The build bit, this is like writing an essay at uni. It's your first draft. So just get a Word document, start to build a draft submission. We'll show you what the questions are shortly. And then as you build that, go through it a number of times and think about your wording. In talking with the judges and the judging panels, quite often they get lots of generic phrases. So they will get someone say, this person is an exceptional leader. But you need to say what exceptional is, or this was an innovative project. You need to say it's not enough to label it as exceptional or innovative. You need to break that down and explain it. So really think about the wording that you use. Testing. So this was a really good tip from someone that I interviewed. They actually tested their application that they were writing on someone who didn't work in the sector. So they had someone they studied at university with, and they went and said, does this make sense to you? Yes, it made sense. Do you think this is outstanding? You know, so really test it, not on people who know this, but people who don't know. It's really important. And you know, if they get to the end of it and go, oh, wow, that person or that team's amazing, that is fantastic, you know, I didn't know about that, that's a really good sign that you are hitting the mark for what the judges will be looking for as well. And the last one there is October 30. That's your submit date. So you've probably got 2.5 weeks or something to get your applications in. And it's an online application form. It's very easy to step through. And we're here to help you if you have any difficulties with that as well. Just to quickly talk about the categories for this year. So there are 8 categories. We have had a little change to the industry and community engagement, which is one at the end. It used to be about marketing, but we've moved that much more. It always had community engagement, but industry engagement is really part of the professional work of universities, and we wanted to highlight that. So these are the 8 categories. In our booklet, you'll see that there is a small descriptor about what the judges will be looking for in each, but we've deliberately left it quite broad, so that, you know, in terms of people and culture, we're not looking one thing. It could be many things. It could be ranging from a staff engagement project. It could be a particular type of mentoring program that's never been done before. You know, the remit is really broad, and we've done that deliberately. Let's do our first activity for today, and we're just going to start off fairly easily. Just want you to write down, because we will build on this, but what is the nomination that you are working on? And perhaps now, do you have a second idea of a nomination? You may have more than one. And just pause for a moment and think about, is this in the right category? I'm going to go back and put those categories up. But if you could give your nomination a title, what would it be? So we're just going to have about a minute of quiet thinking and writing time. Okay, we are all good. That's the minute. Okay, I hope everyone has something there. It might be the start of a little title that will help you in the second activity that we're going to do. This next section, we're going to talk around what are some tips about formulating a nomination, and then we'll talk through what the nomination process looks like. So when I've interviewed and spoken to some of the judges, this has been really interesting, and a lot of this comes from Susan Hudson, who is the convener of the judging panels, and she has said that she is more than happy to talk to anyone if they have queries as well. So you'll be able to email our info email address and say, you know, you'd like a little 5 minutes or 10 minutes with Susan if you need some help. But this is her first tip, and it is around being unique, and this is about how do you stand out from 20 other nominations. So where we've got that little trophy thing, this is a really important one. It's not enough to say that this is an outstanding person. If you're doing the leadership nomination, Jessie is a fantastic leader. You really have to define what is outstanding. And it's really interesting. Another judge I was talking with was just going through their university's staff awards committee, and they're on 2 panels. And they've said it's very interesting because a lot of the applications are very generic in nature. And for them, there was only one application that stood out because it actually, and it was around leadership, but it really painted this person in words that described them and described their impact. So that is really important. You need to demonstrate how the work is outstanding and how it is unique. So there are some questions there to help you think about this. But it is around making sure that, you know, if you are writing up a program or initiative, if every other university is doing that, it's not unique. There has to be an angle or an element of what you're doing that hasn't been done before as well. So this is really important. Think about, when you sit back, when you're working on that draft, think about, is this unique? Put yourself in the judge's seat. Will this stand out? The next tip we have is around demonstrating value. Last year, we did a review with all of the judging panels, and this was the absolute #1 feedback from the panels. And that is, show us why and how this was successful. And so I think the key word here is around demonstrate. How do you demonstrate value? So we've given you some examples there. It might be that you've collected data from surveys, you know, customer experience surveys, student surveys, etc. It might be that you have feedback from participants. They may have been part of a program or something like that. It might be that there's a financial benefit. There are many ways that you can demonstrate value, but you need to have some elements. You need data, whether it's quantitative or qualitative. You need to have some data in your application to help demonstrate the value. And it might be that there are also broader benefits. So, you know, has this changed how people are working elsewhere in the sector? For example, did you present at, you know, our recent Tertiary Education Management Conference, TEMC, and, you know, what was the take-up of it? You know, will it shape how people work going forward? And that's another important way of demonstrating value. If you are presenting and sharing knowledge, that really sits well with the judging panels as well. So there's 3 ways to think about demonstrating value. I spoke to Susan this morning. I cannot stress enough from her that this is the #1 way to make your application successful. The third tip is to tell us a story. If you can bring colour and movement and personality into your application, it's a beautiful thing. I remember a number of years ago seeing an application from Melbourne University, and I've seen some recently last year as well, where people submitted a short video where they interviewed, in both cases, they interviewed students about the impact of a program. So have a think about how can you make the words either jump off the page and tell a story, or can you use interviews with people? You can do videos, you can submit voice files. I know that's not the right word, it will come to me. But make sure that you tell a story. So if you take people on a journey. So there was a problem and Joe thought about it and decided that he would do X to try and fix it. So he tried these things and this is what happened. And in telling us a story, you don't always have to tell us everything was peachy keen. You can actually be really honest and say, there was a hiccup here and the team responded, or this team responded to that, and this is what happened. So it doesn't have to be all glory, but you can say, show how people work with both challenges and opportunities as well. But yeah, this piece on using different mediums is really important as well. Okay, our 4th tip for today. Don't be humble. And this is really difficult for people. I have sort of coached people in previous years through putting in applications, and I find quite often people tend to hide their awesomeness, and will say things like, "Oh, but everyone contributed," or "Oh no, I couldn't say that." It's a bit like writing your response to selection criteria in a job ad. But it is actually really important that you show us the impact, and you are proud of it and you own it as well. And a really great one to say is, how has this been recognised by others? They may have been nominated for other awards or received commendations and things like that as well. This is the one that doesn't sit comfortably with people, but it's really an important part of building your career brand, and promoting the work that you do, and it's part of building your career as well. So yes, we love that everyone in the sector is really humble, but we'd like you to just shine the light on it a little bit as well. Okay, they are our 4 tips from previous participants, judging panels, etc. We're now going to do a little bit of work. We will come to the mechanics of putting in an application in a little bit, but we actually want you to take this opportunity to work with somebody in the room. We're going to break you up into pairs. I'm just going to give Margaret a little time to get that set up in the background, but here's the task that we're going to do. And we'll probably do this for about 8 minutes. We are not going to broadcast or record any of this or come back and share it, but we may talk about the experience of testing your idea. So let's paint a scenario. You're at work. Hopefully you work on a campus that has a lift that goes above the 3rd floor, and you find that you are traveling with the head of the judging panel for the award that you're thinking about. Can you, in 30 to 60 seconds, the time it takes to go 3 floors, summarise your nomination and do a pitch that would make it shortlisted? Now, we're going to pop you into a breakout room, and we really just want you to talk about with each other what your award is, and then just have a go at shaping a pitch. It doesn't have to be perfect, but this will help you really try and get to the heart of why this nomination that you're working on is outstanding. The only thing this comes with a proviso. You're going to go into a room. You might have someone in your same category, and I hope that you will deal with that with respect and confidence, and support each other in making this 10 minutes that you share with each other really valuable as well. one go. Was that of benefit? I popped into a couple of rooms, and it's really interesting trying to get the elevator pitch when you've got so much good stuff to say, and trying to get it down into 1 or 2 sentences about this is outstanding because it has meant that, or these things have happened. Any comments or reflections? You can take yourself off mute, or you could pop something into the chat.
Yep. Elka did have a question.
Okay, yes.
I did. So I was having a chat with Melita from Griffith, and we were talking about a concept that could be applied under different award categories. So is it possible or allowed to put the one nomination in under different categories? Absolutely.
You can nominate for different categories. Last year we had one that won one category and was actually highly commended in another. Mm-hmm. The trick to it is you need to change the application.
Yeah.
Because if you are doing one that is around, let's say, student engagement, you really need to shape that application for the judging panel of student engagement, but you could also put that in for, say, leadership. But the leadership judging panel may be looking for different things. So it is 2 separate applications.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you for that.
Great question. And yeah, and especially some of our big projects absolutely could fall in different ones as well. That elevator pitch is really important though, because it, if you think about trying to get words down on paper, if you can't get it out in 2 sentences, you really need to tighten the pitch to get the attention of the judges. So think about they're reading 20, 30 applications. You need to have a level of conciseness there as well. Okay, so let's get to the mechanics of doing an application. The first thing I'll quickly put up, and I won't quickly put up, you'll get this as we send out the deck, is these are the main questions that you are being asked to answer. So when you go into our website and you go to put in the application forms, it'll start by asking some demographic questions. Who are you nominating and who are you? So it'll ask for some key details, but then it will get into this bit. And this is really part of the sort of the heart of your application. Now, Travis asked before about, is there a word limit? And so there's some finesse here. There is no word limit. However, think about the judges. There are 5 questions here, and if you write an essay in each question, they will lose the thread of you know, the brilliance of your application. So the trick is to try and contain each one to probably 1, 2, maybe 3 paragraphs, but I reckon you're pushing it with the 3rd one. So try and be very succinct in summarising. And in some cases, especially where you're talking about what's the demonstrated value, dot points could be really good as well. So to say, you know, we had a 25% increase in X, 80% of students reported Y, etc. So really try to summarise as well. So, and this is the bit where we're talking about excellence. So how did this person or the team go above and beyond the norm? So that's the thing I said before. If every university is running, or every school or every discipline is running this program, what's above the norm? And the other thing that judges look for in outstanding performance is consistently. So it's not just a one-off, but actually over a period of time, perhaps. So these are the 5 questions that you will be asked to respond to. And as you can see, each of them really comes back to demonstrating value, demonstrating impact as well. Does anyone have any questions about this? Thinking about your elevator pitch, are there any questions or reflections?
So ML,
Hi, Elizabeth.
We enter it directly. Hi, I better switch on my video. It's fields on the form that we put online, right? So it will accept text, and Margaret mentioned infographics and things like that. Is that right?
Yes, so it's absolutely a web-based form. We've done that because it will make it easier for the judges at the other end to be able to see your application. I think, Margaret, infographics, if I'm right, will need to be uploaded. You'll need to set up a file share area. And we'll talk about that in a couple of slides, but anything that is an attachment, you'll need to set up a file share so that we can scoop it up and add it to the application as well.
So basically it's text, and then all the others will be file sharing.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, I can just see Melita, if the nomination is project-based rather than person-based, are we still required to answer the first two questions? Yes. The reason being, because if it's a project, you're probably nominating a team of people who did the project, if that makes sense. So, a project, if you think about it, we like to give a trophy to people. That might be the way of thinking about it. So, yes, the group of people that made the project happen as well. Okay, I'm conscious of time, so the next part of the application that is really quite important is you are asked to put in some testimonials or references. And this is, once again, you can see the words there. We repeat them throughout this: impact and achievements. So it's really critical to have a thought about who could be a referee in a testimonial. My advice is probably to have someone senior in your university to talk about the impact, but also you might, I was talking with, listening to someone's pitch about they work with industry. It might be good to have a short video grab of an industry partner talking about what the benefit of that program has been for them. If it is with students, absolutely. There was a really great application last year that interviewed a couple of students about a program that they benefited from. So this is really important. So think about, instead of having the same type of reference, 3 people all saying this was a fantastic project, think about diversity in your referees and your testimonials as well. And then let's get technical. So for your testimonials, we are putting a word limit on these. Because if you think for each application, judges have to review 2 or 3. So if you're doing written testimonial, 300 words. If you're doing an MP4 or an MP3, 2 minutes. And we ask that you only do 1 of each. You don't do all of those for a reference. And the outcome is this is to really make you stand out from the crowd as well. Okay. So we've done a bit of a fly around the Best Practice Awards. Hopefully it's helped you shape your thinking, but really we're up to questions. Before I take this down, could you just note down the info@atem.org.au is a wonderful email address to make contact with the team and myself. So that if you've got any queries over the next 2.5 weeks about your application, please reach out to us. But if everybody has that written down, I'm going to stop sharing the screen and I'm happy to open the floor to questions. Does anyone have any questions or queries? And you might want to pop your screens back on so we can see you. Is that possible, Margaret?
Yep, we've gone into gallery view.
Does anyone have any burning questions?
I have one, ML.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
You mentioned that some categories you get more applications and some few, obviously. Is there a trend in the previous years that there are? For example, I'm thinking research management could be a niche area that you get fewer applications.
Yeah, actually, probably research management is the one that's a little bit more specific, and also ARMS does some awards as well. But do you know what? Some years it rains, you know. I know it's flooding in part of Australia. I probably shouldn't use that analogy. But some years, some categories just buzz, and there's something about them that draws people in. So I can't really say consistently that some bring in more than others. All these 8 categories, we know that there's a depth of talent in there. Thank you for finding time in your busy Monday. I'm sure your inbox is brimful of things to deal with, but to step back and think about this. And can I just reiterate, doing a nomination is really important. Nominating others is an amazing thing to do. I have seen people who have been nominated, and it's absolutely, it's lifted them, it's built their confidence, it does so much for people that somebody's taken the time to say, I see you, I see your work, and I think it's really, really valuable and important. So if you can, please take the time to nominate someone, or find a colleague to nominate someone as well. So please help us spread the word about the importance of these awards. But apart from that, thank you. Good luck with your applications. We can't wait to see them all come in. Our judging panels are prepping. They're working on their sort of how they'll work together. And I spoke to one this morning, and they're very excited about reading applications. It gives them great joy as well. But anyway, thank you. Go well, and enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.